What's happened to
Here.
Walked up, I said, man, I'd love to be in a horse-drawn sleigh right now.
Todd, if you want to just turn
Over
that
by,
on.
like, by the stone.
Give it about a minute here.
Okay. Yeah, just let me know when you want me to drop the camera. I'm gonna make sure it's on all the pages.
Hey Jay, I heard there was a skunk out there.
There was. Right across the street. Yeah. Yes.
Well, I found a perfect spot and I got out and then he says, you know, you practice like a fire hydrant.
What's the format tonight? Do you have any idea? Oh, you're going to discuss
I
the
will,
format?
yeah, I will
Oh,
let you guys all know as well.
Formally hope for the best.
I liked your comment last night in the
All right.
Meant to be sarcastic,
Todd, you all
but
set?
also advisory.
he ripped the script off you.
Hey Todd, you sit over there.
Wow, he knows
All
that.
right, I think we're gonna go ahead and get started if everybody wants to take a seat. So the format tonight is going to be 3 minutes introduction, so all the mayor candidates can go ahead and introduce themselves and why they're running. Then we'll do questions. Each candidate will get 2 minutes to respond to the questions. At a 30-second rebuttal should there be a need for one, and then we'll conclude with a 3-minute closing. If we get through all of our questions and we have time, we'll open it up to the audience to ask their questions. So I will start probably at the end with Nathan. Please introduce yourself, and you'll have 3 minutes to tell everybody a little bit about you.
All right. My name's Nathan St. George. I just welcomed my 5th child into the world last Monday. I'm a very hardworking, dedicated man trying to start my own business, 5 years into that. I also do work at the deli on the nights when they need me, 3-4 weekdays a week. And I do have to cut back when the busy season comes for my business. We do everything. I'm also, I'm trying to get as much involvement in the schools, which we are very happy with the local school. I'm also a member of the Knights of Columbus. I've been for 7 years. I was trying to help others, several times a week I'll try, I'll buy somebody's coffee, or I added some gas money to a person's gas tank. They were paying with change, so I said, here. He didn't know that I did it, but add that onto it. And I'm always looking out for others, and I don't have much time for myself, but, it makes me happy to do for others. I've got ideas, being young, and I'm always open for new fresh ideas, and I will gladly listen to people's opinions and ideas to help move things forward in the city. I'm looking forward to rebuilding with a lot of things, and maybe some projects to help, and in certain places if you can.
Fun. Thank you, Nathan.
Thank you. Do you have a timer that?
I
put on
do.
there? Okay.
I will let everybody know too when you're hit 30 seconds, when you have like 30 seconds left,
That's
just
awesome.
to
Thank you.
so you can finish your ideas. Now I will reset, and all right, we'll start with Beth.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you for being here tonight on this snowy night. Before I get started, I'd just like to thank Paul Manette for his years of service as mayor and council member. And I'm kind of excited that he's stepping down so that the rest of us have a chance. Yeah. So I look out here and I see a sea of familiar faces. Thank you so much for being here. I see some faces that I don't recognize, and I'm hoping that those people that I don't recognize will at least have a chance to get to know me tonight. And maybe in the future, we'll be able to get to know each other. I know this is gonna sound really smarmy, but I feel like there's no such thing as a stranger in Newport, and I know that you're all gonna feel this way. They're just friends that we haven't met yet, and I've seen that so often in my 10 years here. So those of you that I don't know yet out there, I hope to at least chat with each other. In my opening statement, I'd like to share a couple of important thoughts. On the city website, there are 11 participation guidelines for city council meetings, and I would like to read that verbatim. Topping the list is this one. Please be respectful of each other, council members, city staff, and the public. This is a two-way street, as relevant for those sitting behind the table as it is for those of us who sit in the audience. I understand that it's very scary to walk into the council chambers if you've never been there before, and even stand in front of the table and air a grievance or ask a question. Tonight I want to tell each of you that you will be welcome in the council chambers. You will be acknowledged, you will be heard, and you will be respected. I feel that everybody's voice and everybody's opinion matters because we all live in this community together. As mayor, I feel it will be my job to have a working relationship with current businesses and major employers in the area.
30 seconds.
Okay, thanks. We've suffered failures in the past because we didn't conduct proper due diligence of proposals like the EB5, the expansion of the landfill, and what happened to the proposed senior housing project. My intention is to do the due diligence, work hard, ask the right questions, and hopefully bring the right people to the table so that we can all move forward together. It's not just about me, it's about the community moving forward together. Thank you. Carl.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you for coming. My name is Carl Kane, 49 years old. I live here in Newport. I've been here for 30 years. Community works. I'm doing many organizations that do charitable works. I also really stand for veterans issues and seniors issues. To doctor's appointments. I'm also an advocate for school. I really think school, we should really concentrating our schooling, getting kids the best education we can so we get them out here to jobs that will pay, and also hopefully bring money back here to Newport. I'm really looking forward to working with the administration that's there now. I'd like to add to the team and see what more we can do, add value to Newport. I think as mayor, I'll be able to do a lot more outreach where I'll be out getting developers and business owners to come to Newport, allow the city council and city manager to do their job from there on. But I'd also like to interact with the community. I love the recreational aspects and the choice to go in that direction. I think it's beautiful. As of tonight, outside of its inconvenience, it's truly beautiful, that snow. It's much needed in this region as well. But anyway, I just want to thank y'all for coming, and hopefully, if elected, I can serve honorably and with integrity that seat deserves. Thank you.
Rod.
Okay, well, thank you all for coming, first of all, and thank you to the fellow candidates, and I agree with Beth Barnes' sentiment. Thank you, Paul Manette, for your years of service and all the value, the contributions you made to this town. First of all, I guess I might not be a familiar face, which is actually a good thing sometimes. I've actually lived in Newport about 3 years, and before that I spent 9 years in Barton. So I spent the last 12 years in the Northeast Kingdom. The first 20 years before that I was in Chittenden County. So if I ask myself, who am I would say about 31 years ago, I was someone that was making a very difficult decision, one of the first major decisions in my life. It was to leave home in Columbus, Georgia. I was born in Columbus, graduated right outside of Atlanta, and come all the way up to Vermont. And I've been in Vermont ever since. I've been in Vermont for 31 years, and I chose to come here. And then about 12 years ago, I chose to move to the Northeast Kingdom. I'm a single parent, and actually on top of everything else, most importantly, I'm a middle school English teacher at Barton Academy in Graded School. And talk about this, the snow and everything else, but right now, my girls' basketball team is playing at North Country High School against the 7th grade North Country team, so I should be there coaching that game right now, but I'm here, so they said they would forgive me and that they would do their best, and we'll probably be playing again on Saturday, so I'm really happy about that. I'm someone that's, ever since I've been in the Northeast Kingdom, and actually in Vermont, I've been active. I've been active in the community. I've been active adding my voice to different places. I graduated from the University of Vermont with an English degree and a minor in business. And then I went on to work on my master's degree at St. Michael's College. During that time, and over the last 31 years, I worked in various businesses, owned my own marketing company, promoted tourism and travel. And then recently, with my as being a single parent and having my daughter in tow, we moved up here so she could attend Lake Region Union High School, where she graduated in 2017 as a valedictorian.
You have 30 seconds.
And then went on to Harvard and graduated in 2021. And she's been working in the private sector as a first grade teacher for the last 2 years. I share all of that to show that I've led a very full life where I've had opportunities to make contributions in every aspect. I agree with everyone sitting here that there's a lot of work to be done, and the first thing it does take to build a community, and there's nobody that's going to help you do that better than someone like me that's had the opportunity to make community.
All right, so now we will start with the questions, folks. Question 1. In your opinion, what is the job of the Newport City Mayor, and how would you fulfill that duty? Nathan?
So as a city mayor, it's I would put it, kind of similar to president. They have, they're the highest on the food chain, but there's a lot of responsibility. So, if something goes wrong, I believe it should point back to someone on top as well, and it is also their job to fix it. And I would like to, I've always been good at fixing things, and even if I don't know how to do it, I will find the way and the best way that I can see fit to fix an issue. Also, it's very, a lot of time consuming, go to the right person, find out whatever the issue is. You make time for everyone so that you can, see what's going on in the community. I am always good at talking to people. So, and if you see me on the street and you have a question, don't hesitate to ask. I'm always open for suggestions. The sky's the limit here. I'd like to see a lot of things
You have 30
going
seconds.
positive for Newport. I've seen what the potential was 40 years ago, and I'd like to try and get to that and move forward from there.
All right. Would you like me to restate the question, or are you all set?
No, I'm good. I'm
Okay.
good, yeah. Other than the obvious, running meetings, looking at the budget, so on and so forth, I believe that the mayor's primary responsibility is to be among the people. And I don't mean just the people on the east side. We also have a west side. I owned a home, I see the west side is in the house, thank you. I owned a home on the west side, and now I own a home on the east side. I've gotten to know both of those communities, and I just appreciate both of them. They're both colorful in their own special ways. I think it's important to talk to people. People ask me, what would I like to do when I'm mayor? But I like to flip that around and say, well, what would you like me to do when I'm mayor? Of course, the obvious one is usually the crater on Main Street, but that's not the only thing. And I also remind people that in Newport, we have so many wonderful, wonderful things to celebrate. For example, the people that have worked tirelessly to work on renovating the grandstand. Apparently, I learned last night that it's the last wooden grandstand in the state of Vermont. We have a lot to be, no, somebody's shaking their head. Okay. Barton has one too. Okay, I'm misinformed. Thank you for that. As mayor, I think it's really important to be able to take criticism and to be able to handle when you're wrong with grace and decorum. So I hope I just passed that test. Thank you very much, and he was not
You have 30
a plant.
seconds.
And a sense of humor. But on the serious side, I would like to just be among the community, and I'd like to see what you want me to do on your behalf. And when I learn that, then I want to try and bring the right people to the table and find out how we can move forward together. It's not just me being mayor. You don't send a quarterback out on the field and expect them to win the game. I need all of you to help me. Thank you.
All right. Carl?
As with Beth, I agree that the mayor does need to get out with the people because he does represent and speak for the people. At the same time, he oversees the council. The council itself, what's that?
Or she? Okay.
Pardon me, he or she. Where was I now?
Overseeing the
I'm trying to
council.
politically correct the rest of my thoughts, I guess. So basically, just to oversee, and of course, we know that if there's a tie in the city council, he or she, the mayor, would break that tie. But at the same time, I still believe strongly that the mayor's position is outreach, is to really to go out and get developers and business and make those ties and bring that business in, the developers in. If we're going to make plans and establish directions for Newport, we have to bring all the puzzle pieces together, and everybody has to work as a team and bring what talents they have to the table. Again, I believe I'm very qualified for that job, and my outreach abilities would bring great opportunities to Newport. Thank you.
Rod?
Yeah. Okay, so adding on everything that's been said to a certain extent, I would offer that the mayor needs to add voices to the table. I think the mayor needs to go out and be a conduit in the community and to be someone that is approachable, as well as having background knowledge in, how to run a city, work with people, be on the city council, and as well as bring more stakeholders to the table. So a good mayor, an effective mayor is someone that you don't see that often because he's working behind the scenes or where she's working behind the scene. They're doing their best to the extent that they can to bring people to the table that have vested interest in what's going on, whether they're property owners or whether they're renters. Everyone that is a resident of Newport deserves to have a voice. And building this and growing together is the only way we're going to do it, is with everyone's voice at the table so that we can have buy-in from everyone. I'm very happy with projects like the grandstand. I'm especially happy with names like Satchel Paige being connected. But as the mayor, I mean, we're working with people across Metro-Magog, we're working with people throughout the state. We have an opportunity as Newporters to be a beacon to everyone in the entire state of Vermont
You have 30 seconds.
and share a new perspective of what a mayor can be and how a town can turn around and develop and grow within itself, and as well as bring more people in an inclusive environment. So, yes.
All right, question number 2. What have you done, or what past experience do you have that has helped to prepare you for this position? Nathan?
Well, unfortunately, it's one of my own doing that I do not have any experience in politics, but that doesn't mean that I can't quickly learn how to do the job, which I've always been a very fast learner, and I've always learned my best hands-on. If I make a mistake, I learn from it and continue on to make it right. And usually I only have to make that mistake once before, so like when I'm trying to travel somewhere and it's nowhere I've been before, I use my GPS once, I try and do it again the second time I travel, and I may have to use a little leg up to, go there the second time, but after that, depending on how frequently I go to one place, I can always remember it. So I think that can be good. I'm like I said, I'm very hands-on, and I'd like to help anywhere we can. The communities here, where the city is over 100 years old, which is good. And, just because it's of age doesn't mean it can't do great things.
You have 30 seconds.
Okay. I'd like to try and just help everyone out there, help me to be the best mayor we can be, and hopefully do it for many years.
All right. Beth?
Thank you. Well, a lot of you know me for the work that I've done around Newport, in particular as community outreach specialist at North Country Hospital. I worked a lot with seniors and children, but there's probably something that a lot of you don't know about me. When I lived in Long Beach, which is my hometown, before I came here to Vermont, I was the chairperson of my Surfrider Foundation chapter in Long Beach. Long Beach has as many people as the entire state of Vermont, so it's a rather large city. So as the chairman of my Surfrider Foundation, and Surfrider, for those of you who may not know about it, is an international nonprofit, and we are stewards, in simple terms, stewards of the coastline. And in Long Beach, we had our local coastal oceans were choking because during World War II, we had a breakwater that was built for public defense. And then they moved to the Pacific Fleet, so we were left with the breakwater. We had two 60-mile rivers that feed into that. So when those rivers feed in, there's no place for those waters to go. So because of that breakwater, our local waters were choking and they were dying. So I helped to lead the push to sink that breakwater. It would have been the only time that an Army Corps of Engineer project had actually been demolished. I'm sorry to say that it still hasn't happened after all of these years, but I am happy to say that so many people have come to the table to look at the issue and to talk about the issue, people that wouldn't have spoken together before. And also as the chairman of my Surfrider chapter, we were instrumental in getting the conversation going to ban single-use plastic bags in Los Angeles County, and we were successful with that. It took a very big fight, a good fight with grace and decorum, not with anger and harsh words. but I spent a lot of time in
All
front of a
set.
very large city council in Long Beach, and that was unnerving. Thank you.
All right, Carl.
Basically, what I would bring to the table, my experience, I was in the military for altogether almost 8 years. I had a lot of projects. I also am a member of the Army Corps of Engineers. So I bring that to the table as well, too, knowledge of a lot of things that will be dealt with as mayor, infrastructure, so on and so forth. My ability to communicate, outreach, the want, I have a servant's heart. That's really just, home is where the heart is, and Newport is where my heart is, and it's what I call home. So whatever I can do to help to meld, cohesive, to bring the city and management together, that's what I'm going to do. So I like what the city is doing, and I like to add to it. I have some skills as well too, and things to bring to fit into the puzzle, make it a much more beautiful piece to look at. So, thank you.
All right. Rod?
Could you repeat the question?
Yes. What have you done, or what past experience do you have that has helped prepare you for this position?
Okay, all right, thank you. I just wanted to make sure. Well, as I was sharing earlier, I arrived in the Northeast Kingdom about 12 years ago. My daughter was entering 8th grade, and I wanted to be close with her and helping her finish her high school career and getting into college. There wasn't many jobs, actually, in the Barton area during that time, so I took a job as a substitute teacher. At that time, the substitute teacher for OCSU, Orleans Central Supervisory Union, was only making minimum wage. And that would be the joke that I would tell with other people in the school building. It's like, you know what, I'm here with a college degree, and I'm equitable, and no offense to the baggers at CNC, but getting paid on that same level. Over the 9 years, I worked as a sub, and I got a raise basically every time the every time the minimum wage went up. But it was good because I was working on something special and helping my daughter get through college. However, part of the work that I started to do was working with the school board and working with people of like the NEA and the Vermont NEA and the OCEA to get the wages raised. So about 2.5 years ago, as we're coming out of COVID, the substitute teacher pay is still about $11.75. And I bring it up again that it's like, that's too low. What's going on? I go to the school board meeting and I get the school board to approve. I bring it up, they make the motion.
30 seconds.
Substitute teacher pay gets approved to go up to $13.75 an hour. However, that doesn't necessarily go into effect because by setting it at that rate of $13.75 an hour, it was actually going to be higher than some of the paras in the Orleans Central Supervisory Union. So with more work, with more politicking, and getting more people to the table, and in the process of helping the students and the kids, which is the most important thing, I'm happy to report that even as of last Friday, it's been announced that the paras pay for the fall is going to be $18 an hour, so that the substitute teachers will be able to make more money, and so that the teachers will be able to
All
get
right.
paid more money.
We have to move on.
And it's a great thing.
So, with that, question number 3.
Could I suggest you shuffle the order here? I know it's
Yeah.
awful difficult going first.
Sure, I can absolutely do that. Bear with me, this is the first time I've ever done this, so.
You're doing a great job.
So, all right, so we will. Actually, it's a great suggestion. So with each question, we'll start with the next person in line and go finish that way. All right. Next question. What is your primary goal as mayor? And with that, we'll start with Beth.
Thank you, Ron. My primary goal as mayor, my first and foremost goal is to represent you. My second goal is to represent this city of Newport on one of the most beautiful lakes I have ever seen. I'm going to go off tangent a little bit here and talk about the lake now that I brought it up. It is our #1 economic driver. And as mayor, I need to let people know that. We all know that in this room. We know it's beautiful. We know it has great potential, and we know that it's being underutilized. And we also know that it is under threat environmentally. We will not have anything if that lake is threatened. As mayor, I will work hard to protect it, to promote it, to bring people here to use it, and not just for the day, and it's a much bigger issue, because to bring people here for a holiday, we need hotels, we need infrastructure. I'm really going off topic right now, but not really. I'm gonna bring it back again. We need all of that to support what we can do with the lake. So as mayor, I would like to, again, get the right people around the table. I'd like to call other
30
mayors around the
seconds.
state. I'd like to see what other towns, such as Littleton, are doing. They are thriving. What have they done right? We can get it right, Newport. We need to reach across the border too. We need to be better friends with the Canadians, with our neighbors. They're our neighbors. We share an international water boundary with them. We need to bring them here on their boats. I could go on all night. I know I only have about 10 more seconds, so I'll wrap it up. But I will represent you and promote Newport for all its greatness and beauty. Thank you.
All right, Carl.
Repeat the question again, please.
Yes, what is your primary goal as mayor?
Okay, the primary goal would be, for one, is to, well, as reality is, let's put the city back together. The community and the management, city councils, put it back together. Once we have that good feel and that cohesiveness there, I think that the city's going to start feeling that and be more open-minded. I'd like to concentrate, again, on bringing development and business. We definitely need something to help offset the tax rate. If not, it's going to keep going higher and higher and higher unless we have businesses here. If they don't come in, we have to pay for it all. So, and the more services we add, is the more we add to the taxes. So we have to identify how far and how fast we're going into the future and make sure we're all going at the same time. So that's just it, just getting everybody on board. But also, I agree that the mayor should also promote Newport, which, again, I would be doing, especially with the outreach. Unless they don't know that we're here, they're never going to come and spend that money, or, of course, and enjoy themselves. But just walking down a path here in Newport is not paying the bills. Getting people here from other places walking down our paths, we're going to pay them bills. So that's what I intend on doing. Thank you.
Right. And Rod?
Well, I guess the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get to know all the different departments that make up Newport. I'm going to get to know Newport inside and out. We've got a lot of people that have been involved with city council, with government, with running this town for a plethora of years. And the first thing I want to do is get to know each one of them and all their grievances, all their gripes, all the ways that they've thought this project would have went better if we had this, if we had taken this angle, or if we'd gone this way. And then, because that's the people that go to work every day to make Newport what it is. And those are the people that you should spend your first time with. And then after we work together to get to know the Parks and Rec Department and every aspect of making sure that they're all working together and with the left hand and the right hand they're doing, and then coming up with a strategic plan that we can all buy into. Like I've been doing a lot of research on Newport, looking at the budget, looking at the numbers, looking at some of the forecasts. There's been so many wonderful strategic plans and things, put into place and almost, literally, getting the ball rolling, but obviously things took a little bit of a detour over the last 6 years. And as we push through that, it's time to look back through those plans and to ask and to see those people that are still around and to get their feedback and their input and to see if they're still interested and
have 30
invigorated to help
seconds.
do the work. And then give them everything they need to do it. That's the key. The key is to get everybody's help at the table and everybody's buy-in, and then once everybody's committed to doing the work, the momentum, the inertia will take it where we want to go. And it's not gonna look the same way at the beginning as it does at the end, but that's the beauty of having everybody work together, is coming up with a shared vision and a shared vision for the new Newport.
Right. All right, so Nathan.
So my goal, and I actually have a lot more than one goal, but my biggest goal is to try and get the community back together. You know, find a spot where we can do like potlucks and, you know, things, and more than just the city council meetings, and we can also discuss things, you know, even just, everybody is really nice up here, you know, I mean, living in Rhode Island, Massachusetts area, you know, people will try and shoot you just for saying hi, and it's a little over exaggerating, but you know, people don't even wave to each other anymore down there. Up here, I've always felt a nice sense of home every time I've come up here to visit before we moved up here. That just people waving at you like they've known you for years, and I like that. And I know there's certain parts of this community, and it's not just in Newport. We have to also look out to our neighboring communities, our outside communities. If we can't get people to come in and enjoy our facilities, and you know, that splash pad, I really am looking forward for that project to go through, because what do kids want? To have fun. Mommy, I want to go to the splash pad. I want to go. If, you know, our community, they get to use it all the time, but word spreads, and word can spread very fast if, you know, bringing it in. And we need,
You have
more
25
jobs.
seconds.
I'd like to also try and help create spots for more jobs and bigger community. That Crater is the biggest thing in our community. It's right on Main Street. If people from out of town drive through and see that, they're not going to want to spend money or spend time. Thank you.
Okay. Next question is, in interviews, all candidates have made references to building community or communication and trust within the city administration, and many have said they want to rebuild trust with the city, between the city and the people who live here. What do you see as broken or damaged, and what would you do to help change that and reestablish trust with the council? It would be Carl.
What the city needs is the transparency from the city council and the mayor. They are conducting business in our name and for all of our city residents. It is up to us to expect them to have transparency, to explain to us the business that is coming to them and disseminate that information. Not just to a select group or quickly put it here where you have to search for it and find it. That's a hindrance. We want it to be open and clear for everybody to see. There should never, ever be anything in city business where anybody should have to question, where's the paperwork, where's the proof, where's this, where's that? Why can't you explain it to me easily? You should be able to articulate to your constituents what city business is. It's as simple as that. Thank you.
Rod.
Okay. Let's see. So one of the first times that I actually put community organizer on my registration form was all the way back in 2012, when I had just moved up here and I came actually up to the gateway to hear a presentation about EB5. I had also hoped to get close to, I had just moved to town, so please forgive me, close to Bill Stinger, because I had a background in sales and marketing, and I said maybe I could get something do something in J Peak, and if this program is as big as it is, it's going to be great, and it's going to be awesome. And I have a business degree, I have background in business, so I should be able to spot this. So I was standing there with people from the Federal Reserve Bank of Boston in a three-piece suit, and I'm listening to this whole program laid out. And at this time, like I said, I'm about 37, 36 years old, and it's all sounding too good to be true. And lo and behold, it was unfortunately too good to be true. I still, as you can hear in my voice, don't like the way that went down. So many aspects were left unsettled, and so many things were left on the table that could have been resolved. And just one of the things happens to be the hole on Main Street. But there were other businesses that were supposed to come in. There was another hotel. When Phil Scott was here a couple
You have 30
weeks
seconds.
ago, about a month ago, opening up the health center, he said that there was funds for that type of work to, help revitalize Newport. And that's what I really want to get to the bottom of, because there was hurt feelings. A lot of people that were involved got egg on their face, and we need to tell them that they're still part of Newport and that we can still all come back together and survive and heal and overcome this together. And that's the only way that we're literally going to push past one of the biggest fraud incidents in the state of Vermont, is together and getting everybody back to the table.
All right. Nathan?
All right. When it comes to trust, I've always heard, trust no one, trust, and there's a lot of times that is true, because I always try and trust everyone until something bad comes from a situation. If you give that kind of respect and everything, I believe that it'll come back. And we can't have a community to work together if we can't trust anybody. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And that's all a good, very good saying, and it does hold true. But you also have to trust yourself. If you can't trust yourself, it's hard to do that and trust others. And if we're a community that won't work together because either the color of their skin, gender, they're all encompassing, I don't trust them because they're purple. I don't trust this person because they came from outer space. And we can't do that. You can eliminate distrusting somebody just by speaking to them.
You have 30 seconds.
Once you start talking and communicating, then, if something bad comes out of that, then you have your answer. But always try to make a move to, trust everyone. And I hope we can bring that back. And I know it's hard to forgive, but that's what we need to do.
Beth?
Talitha, would you mind restating the question?
Yes. So all candidates have referenced building communication and trust with the city administration. What do you see as broken or damaged, and what would you do to change that and reestablish trust with the council?
It's a very broad question. I don't know what trust has been broken. I don't know specifics. So it's hard for me to actually comment on this supposed trust that's been broken. I think everyone is different. Everyone approaches situations in their own way. No two people are the same, and thank goodness for that. I think trust is something that's earned. And sometimes it's a long, hard road to earn trust and to learn how to trust somebody else. The only way to do that is to make a commitment to working toward a singular goal. And not everybody's going to work toward that goal at the same speed, with the same intensity. And sometimes trusts will be broken. And when those trusts are broken, we are adults. It's up to us to figure out how to mend that trust. So I'm not stalling because I don't know what to say. It's just I want to make sure that my words convey exactly what I'm feeling, because trust is a big thing, whether it's in a personal relationship or whether it's in a city council or whether it's in a corporate boardroom. I
30
think
seconds.
the bottom line is we are adults in this town and we need to act like adults. The young people are looking to us as role models, and we need to hold ourselves to a really high standard. And I believe trust is the foundation for success. Thank you.
All right, the next question. What relationship do you envision having with the members of City Council, and how would you go about building this relationship?
My turn?
It will be. Gotta reset this. All right, there you go.
Well, so as I also mentioned a little bit earlier, I'm a middle school English teacher. 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in Barton, the Barton Academy graded school. I have about 50 kids underneath my watch, and my homeroom is the 7th grade. So, and I have about 9 or 10 significant 7th grade girls with significant personalities, and every morning they're always happy to see Mr. Owens. Yes, so putting that in perspective, every day I try to treat each one as an individual, and every student, to meet them where they are, see how they're doing. Every day is different. You don't know how they got out of bed. You don't know what's going on. And I meet them with a smile, and I say, it's great to see you, and I'm so glad you're here, and let's get to work. And that's the same way I would approach the city council. I would be just one of the members doing our best to add the best input and to make the best commitments to assuming that everybody has the best intentions in mind and that nobody has an agenda and that we're all working to basically improve Newport, to leave it better than we
You have 30
found it.
seconds.
So that's the relationship I would have. I would do whatever needed to be done, whether that meant get the coffee or turn up the thermostat so that we could all feel comfortable and everybody's voice was heard and recognized as part of the solution.
All right, Ethan.
So, the best thing in any relationship, whether father, son, mother, daughter, co-workers, anytime you are working one-on-one with somebody, you have to establish proper form of communication. And if you're both not on the same page, it can easily be tainted and twisted, and don't be afraid to ask questions and repeat yourself. Because if you're not heard clearly, or say you mumble, I know I do, if they're not understanding what I'm saying, I'm more than willing to repeat myself if they're willing to ask. And if we can't establish a proper set of communication, then, we can't even really work properly together. So that's what I would do with the city council members, is just open up my ears, which I've always been a good shoulder to lean on, and hear everybody's problems, and just communicate my best information back. They may not always agree with what I have to say, but I always like to try and, give the proper answer that I see is fit.
You have 30
But-
seconds.
Again, communicate, and we're all in this together to try and move things forward, and if we can't we won't succeed.
All right. Beth?
So I'm going to ask you to repeat it
Yes.
one more time. I'm so sorry.
What relationship do you envision having with the city council, and how would you build this relationship?
I intend to have an honest relationship, a relationship where I don't feel apologetic about asking questions if I don't know something. I will be new. I've not been to mayor school, and I'm guessing that nobody ever has, so I will cut myself some slack in not knowing everything. I do worry about that I'm not going to know enough about the logistics of being a mayor. So I will turn to the city council and ask them to hold my hand until I'm up to speed. And there might even be a chance for me to interject and share my opinions and my feelings until we all find the pages that we can be on together, and then just start flipping those pages together and start working together. But I think honesty is definitely going to be my North Star if I become mayor, because as soon as you start pretending like you know something or know more than you do, it spirals downward very quickly. So I find the best approach is just to be honest, whether you know something or whether you don't know something. And I hope they'll cut me some slack during the learning curve. Thank you.
All right. And Carl?
I agree with Beth. The best approach for any relationship is to be true and honest, not only to the person you're trying to engage, but to yourself. Through the years, there have been many, and there's reasons for that. There's supposed to be different opinions in city council, so that way hopefully all avenues and approaches to a situation can be addressed, hopefully. But that's not meant to be a warring scenario where people get to fight, and because you don't agree with me, blah, 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 so on and so forth. It's not about that. It's about keeping the integrity of the seat that the people elected you to, and move forward. Whether people agree on issues or not, it's agreed on for the best of Newport. And to help develop those, I would also offer myself to the learning curve. They certainly had a learning curve, and by reaching and receiving the baton, I also accept that learning curve is going to be upon me, where I don't know it all, but I hope to learn as much as them and be an effective part of the team. Thank you.
All right. So the tax rate has been a common topic in many interviews with the candidates sitting here, and all have discussed bringing in more business, the option of bringing in revenue to reduce tax rates. So how do you feel you would go about bringing in new business as the mayor, especially in light of the employment crisis and the actual duties the mayor is able to perform? And you will start with Nathan. Yep.
Yeah. So when it comes to taxes, we all get hurt by it. Everybody wants their hands in your pockets for money, especially when you have less money. But I don't see why we can't do, fundraisers that everybody can, join in, so that we can put more money into the city budget and lower tax rates for everyone. I have an idea about adding solar panels to the telephone poles, help lower, electrical prices. So if different projects like that, are even so we don't have to spend so much money on rebuilding the grand site, maybe extra volunteers, people who want to, step up, even high schools in construction or whatever, they get that learning on the job kind of training, and it can cut costs there. I'm always about trying to find a way to cut costs and make money for to continue and prosper. I grew up poor with nothing, and there's nothing I know better than how to balance a budget with pennies instead of dollars. So I can put my
You have 30
knowledge
seconds.
of that into the city, and hopefully we can, with the right hands and the right knowledge and the right ideas, we can push everything forward.
All right. Beth?
Thank you. How could we bring more business to the city? That's, that's the elephant in the room. But I have an even bigger question. And probably probably there are a few of us in the room that know the answer to this, but I'm not privy to the answer because I'm a citizen and I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But one of the first questions I'd like to know is, I'm sure there has been interest in businesses coming to the city. How come it only gets so far and then the deal is not done? Why are businesses not coming here? Are they meeting some sort of an obstacle at the city level? Is there, and I don't know this because I'm not in these negotiations, but I certainly would like to know, why are these businesses possibly expressing an interest and then they go away to another town? What could we do? What could we do to court these businesses a little more seriously to make sure that they do sign on the dotted line? What can we do better? What can we offer them? I can think of many things that I would find attractive about this city, but for someone just coming in and seeing it for the first time, they might not see it and feel it. So I'd like to know why these businesses are coming and looking, but not buying. Another thing is,
30 seconds.
We did have a chance for a new business in town, and that was a senior housing facility. We need senior housing in this area. This is not a time when we should be turning out our elderly relatives to someplace an hour or two away. This is a time when we need to draw close as family. We need senior housing here. That is a business. Let's bring senior housing to this city. We've got the room, we've got the spirit that we need, and we can do it. We are Newport. Thank you.
Carl?
Would you repeat the question, please?
Oh, yes.
It seemed to be more than one part.
So the tax rate has been discussed by all of the candidates in various interviews. They've all discussed bringing in more business to bring in revenue and reduce the tax rate. How would you go about bringing in new business as mayor, especially in light of the employment crisis?
Well, business certainly requires an infrastructure to come in to, and they also need a workforce. They also need, let's get realistic, an incentive. Why would they want to move to a particular city or a particular area? It's one, it's going to be financially beneficial to them for growth. But we also need to identify what kind of incentive packages we can also offer as a city to bring them in in turn to start bringing and turning out revenue. Certainly to show the advancements that we're making here in the city, the developments, the beautification, the recreation. These are crucial elements that developers want to see when they come into a city, want to make sure it's thriving and equitable to their building, but also to their workforce. They're going to have people that will be able to fill in their jobs. But we also want to make sure that the jobs that are coming here are going to be the jobs that our workforce are going to be able to work at. If not, let's again concentrate on our schools. Let's develop a school program that would intensify training, especially on technical computer training. That's where the future's at. So just to identify really what we can handle here, what we can offer, but to go out, we got to tell them and entice them. So if you don't go out and tell them we're here, again, they're not going to know
You have 30
we're here.
seconds.
So thank you very much. And it is outside of the box. It's not always in Vermont that the answers are for business. We got to go outside of that box or outside of the city. Thank you.
All right, and Rod?
Wow. Okay, so there's definitely a lot of ways we can answer this question. First of all, one of the ways that we can lower property taxes is increase revenue, and you do that by increasing some of the economic sector is one of the goals. So the first thing I would do is I would continue to work closely with Rick and the NCDD, Newport City Development District. They've got some very innovative things that they're working on with the Gateway Center, making that into an educational facility, as well as some numerous other projects that we've been discussing. And I think it's important that the city works hand in hand with the downtown companies. Secondly, as someone who has rented office space and maintained leases and things like that. The businesses are owned by people, and you go there and you get a lease, and then you create your business. So what makes a business inviting, and especially with an employment crisis, and not being able to find, proper, good employees, is housing. So you have to get more housing so that people can live in the city and then work. One of the things Rick shared was that most people spend about 40% of their income within walking distance. So think about everybody that lives downtown Newport and all the businesses that could stand to gain. So part of what we need to do is to keep doing what we're doing and to attract
30
more
seconds.
businesses, as well as offer them incentives to stay and incentives to work with us. If there's any, if there's schools that have, extra ARP funds or ESSER funds, we can find ways to collaborate with them as well. And bringing more people downtown is how you attract more businesses, which also brings more revenues, and that, alleviates some of the stress on property owners.
All right. Next question. That feeds perfectly into the next question, which is, all candidates have talked about bringing more people to the city of Newport to live. As mayor, how would you help bring people to Newport, especially in light of the housing shortage in the area? Where do you envision them living? So Beth.
Back to me. I take that the question was, where would I envision them living?
Yeah, how would we bring businesses here in light
Yeah.
of this housing crisis?
That's definitely another elephant in the room. Yes, the housing crisis. One thing that I think we need to be careful about is not to upset the equilibrium between low income and affordable housing versus market value housing. The market value housing, of course, we're going to be getting taxes from those homes. And there are a lot of people who are coming here looking for that kind of accommodation. They're not finding it. I know that for a fact. I think we all do. I was at the legislative breakfast this last week, and Bobby Starr said something very interesting. I think you probably all know Bobby Starr. He was talking about the housing crisis, and specifically here in Newport. And he said, look at all, and I'm sure we know many of them, look at all the older people who are living in a home, a family home. They're living by themselves, and they're finding it difficult to live on their own, the 80-year-olds and 90-year-olds. I know I had a mother like that, and I guess maybe I could be accused of that too. But living in a home that's too big for you, that a family could be occupying. And his point was, let's get some senior housing. And
Give 30 seconds.
let's provide a community, a senior housing community of all levels, assisted living, independent living, and free up their homes, which are very often burdensome for them. That would be a really wonderful, it just makes so much sense to me to build this senior community within our community, free up those homes, entice the employers to come and say, yes, we have housing for your employees. It just seems like a win-win-win all around to
right.
me. Thank you.
Okay.
The question again, please?
Yes. So the question is, all the candidates have talked about bringing more people to the city of Newport to live. As mayor, how would you help bring people to Newport? And in light of the housing shortage, where do you envision them living?
Again, we're gonna have to go out to get developers in business to come here. Again, they're not going to know we're here and what we have to offer unless we have a package to show them, or something to show them. Once they get here, how to house them. Again, we have this fine line here up in the North Country where we have no housing. We have beautiful fauna and flora. We gotta find that midpoint so we're not cutting into that beautiful North Country that we're so used to and we love and cherish, but also we need to build houses for all demographics, because they're all here and are always going to be here, whether you're rich, poor, or middle class. Everybody is here, and we need to house them. The seniors, unfortunately, I feel that very much. I was very sad to see that. But we need to encourage more places like that. What can we do to step in as a city? What can we do to help so you don't go out and, like for that one, bottom up on us? But we certainly have to, definitely, we got to build more houses, but we definitely got to have the revenue to come in to offer that. So that's it.
All right. Rod?
All right, this is definitely getting interesting. There's actually a couple ways we can approach this dilemma as well. The first one I would offer, most of us know now, like the Hole on Main Street is actually in receivership. And now that J. Peak and Burke have been sold, maybe the receiver will actually be able to pay a little bit more attention to the Hole and help us, figure out some remedies to that solution. But that's not the only piece of property in Newport that's, vacant or dilapidated. There's things that we can do where we can work with state grant programs and we can put specific departments together to, go out and find investors and work on our relationships with companies like Rural Edge and those types of organizations. Because guess what? Renters pay taxes too. So even we pay it to the landlord, and the thing is, we might not get the equity that comes with the ownership, but it's still part of the pie. And so those are things that we can do to actually add to, and there's ways, with grant programs and state programs where, the city could take over ownership of something temporarily while we attracted an investor to purchase it long-term. And during that time, you could find some sort of affordable housing or work with some sort of subsidized housing, as well as middle income and upper income housing. The second way that I would approach it as well is we can increase our transportation. Things like the RCT, we can bring more people and have more
30
routes
seconds.
coming from other parts of the Northeast Kingdom and build and actually help it and make it easier for them to get to Newport to work and to fulfill some of these jobs, which would actually add to the wealth of, of the overall city and to help sustainability as well. So there's ways that people can work further away from Newport and still benefit and help add to the value of our great city.
Ethan?
All right. Being in construction myself, I've helped with a lot of the projects not just in Newport, in their homes where they're very old homes, and I don't want to push to see, them torn down and rebuilt, but just in my neighborhood, I actually live a stone's throw away from here. There was a fire a few years ago that the house, they finally tore it down last year, and as far as I know, there's no rumblings of anything even being built. Just shortly under there on the bottom of 2nd Street, that house I was actually looking at that house to buy it, because our next move as a family, was to go and buy a house. Renting is great. You don't have to worry about home expenses and everything, and not everybody can afford a house, but unfortunately, just renting is an ongoing, never-ending kind of pile-on project that it gets daunting. And, everybody wants to have something of their own. And then there's another home just out towards heading out to the outskirts that way. It's been, I'm assuming it's been abandoned for many years, and it's a very large home. And, I've been seeing people, tear down the old homes and put down multi-family homes,
You
which
have 30 seconds.
is something we definitely need. And, as the older community unfortunately passes on, the houses will be coming up for sale, and I have been seeing that as I've been looking for one myself. There's something that we could do to even maybe try and build another facility like we have just down the road, the big brick building where it's, a lot of people don't want to live that close to people, but we do need more of it.
All right, so last question that I have for you folks tonight. Actually, that is the last question I have for you folks tonight, so I'd like to open it up to the community to ask their questions. We have probably 15 or so minutes before we do some closing comments. Yes?
The mayor and the council, and then there is the city manager. Who works for whom? So if you become the mayor, will you be working for the city council, the city manager, or will the city manager be working for you?
So I'm going to restate the question for cameras and for the live feed, so you're asking if they were to become mayor, do they work for the city manager and the city council, or does the city council and city manager work for the mayor? Is that the?
No,
Okay.
it's the city council and the mayor. Do they work for the city manager, or does the city manager work for the council and the mayor?
Okay, so does the city council and the mayor work for the city manager, or does the city manager work for the city council and the mayor?
I can answer that one, I
Okay.
believe.
Start
I'm
with
not
Beth.
sure what format you want.
Yep, we'll start with Beth, and then we'll just go right around.
It's my understanding that the city manager works for the mayor.
That's the way it should be, right?
That is my understanding, yes.
Carl?
As I understand it, the city manager works for the city, but is overseen, correct, by the mayor, and that, thus of the city council. The mayor would be the head, if you would, of the echelon. Then you would have the city council, who really, that wields the power. So that the mayor would be part of that power if there needs to be a tie-breaking vote. But the council does hold that power. The city manager does work under that.
Thank you. Rod?
Well, Laura has been the city manager for about 8 years, and I'm going to work with Laura. I'm going to do whatever I can to help her and listen to her and, do my best to get whatever knowledge that she's willing to share with me. Jim's been in the city, and working as well. So I'm not one of those people that comes in and tries to reinvent the wheel. Those people have extremely vast expertise, so I don't think who works for whom. We all work together, and we all work for the people of Newport.
Except one is elected
Yep.
and the other one is paid for.
All right.
Correct.
So, are you done, Rod, or you want to keep going?
Yes.
Okay. Before, I just didn't want to move all the way from you, Nathan.
I'm gonna agree with Roderick there. As mayor, yes, mayor does, have the top seat, but mayors and the city council and the city manager, we're actually all working for the people, and that's how it should be. I have not seen it in, my short years on this planet be like that anywhere, even in companies, we all have to work together, but the city manager would work for, and under the council and the mayor. That's how I see it would be fit.
Excuse me, can I just make a comment?
Yeah, you got a
I think that
30-second
question
rebuttal.
was a tiny little bit misleading, because of course, we're all going to work together with all of our colleagues. But the way I understood it was that you were asking about the hierarchy and the job description.
I think that's
Yeah.
what she was asking.
So I think I think that, of course, we're all going to work together.
And I do agree, if I can jump
Yep,
into
30
it as
seconds.
well too. But for clarity, the city manager does work an answer to the city council. And just so everybody knows, the only way to get rid of your city manager is through your city council. It's not through you saying, hey, I don't like that particular city manager. It's up to you to go to your city council and saying, we've had enough, vote of no confidence, and you give that power to them, and then they decide.
Okay. You have a rebuttal?
Just only because we did go through.
Yep.
And I think as well, the fact of the matter is everyone that is put in place to do these jobs, whether it's the fire chief, whether it's the head of sewer and waste management, they go to work every day with the confidence that we have their interests, at best, their best interests at heart when we make decisions as a city council. And I think the overall morale and the overall enthusiasm can be greatly improved when everybody understands that we're all part of the same community and that we're all working for the betterment of the entire city.
Nathan, you want 30 seconds? Okay. Anybody else have any questions?
So, at the city council level, only certain topics seem to be brought up. I have no idea who generates those topics. I know in other cities that I've lived in, those topics can be submitted, and counselor, and you ask them, do you think this is an idea that we could put on the agenda? How would you address that, seeing that it doesn't appear that anyone can get anything they want on the agenda? Would you be open to recommendations and requests of the public to have an item put on the agenda? Say like to hold an open forum for the budget for the people, not for the council.
So am I correct, you're asking how they would go about allowing people to get things put on the agenda, or how they would go about doing that? Okay, so how would you go about getting community input on what goes on the agenda, such as opening up forums for reviewing budget? Do I have that correct, sir?
Yes.
Okay. And we will start with Carl.
If I understand correctly, as I always envisioned, there should be a group of community members who care enough, who want to, who receive that information, will help disseminate that out to the public. But all that information should come from city government. You should get it from your council members, you should get it from your mayor. Well, you're gonna have to run that, that's a lot, yeah.
So how could the community get things on the agenda, and how would the mayor help them with that, and how would the mayor help?
Well, I believe, actually, I thought there should have been a lot more time for people to speak. I mean, when you hear something in your community, 2 minutes is not enough. 2 minutes, 2 and 2, that's what you got from Chuck Woolery at a dating game, or whatever that show was. But in city management and city business, you need to express how you feel, because every decision impacts the citizen, the community member. So without them, we wouldn't be elected. So they need to be inclusive in pretty much a lot of the information, not so much decision-making, because that's what we hold the council responsible for. We give that power to them. But we do need to form committees, even outside, again, in the community, to get that information and disseminate it out. Talk about things amongst yourselves. Appoint someone to come to the council
You have 30
and
seconds.
represent everybody in that regard. We, as whatever your group is, would like more information on this. Can you disseminate more information to us? Just have open forums.
Okay, all right, Rod.
Okay. I definitely think there's multiple ways you can go about doing that, and I'm glad this question came up again. Thank you very much. Well, one of the ways is, public privilege of the floor, the 2 minutes that everyone has at city council meetings to share, their input or some of the things that's on their mind, and it's not necessarily open for feedback at that time. But as a city council, we can start to run a list of those types of things, and we can prioritize those, and we can see if they fit into, or find a way to fit those into our strategic plan. Another way could be, or should be, public and community forums. We have a lot of great space, whether it's the gymnasium, whether it's the school, whether it's this wonderful library, where we can offer feedback and have people come in and take surveys and share, their feedback at a specific time where it's not during the city council meeting. We can say it's coffee with the city council meetings at the Brown Cow on Fridays at 12 o'clock. I would love to go there. And there's so many different things that you can do where you can actually get feedback and engage with the community. And then the third thing I would do is to, utilize the technology and the social media and all those tools that our kids know how to use so much better than we do. You can do different things with like NEK Rocks and different programs where you can put a survey out there, you can get people's feedback. One thing we could do with NEK-TV as well is you can
30
have
seconds.
the mayor can have a show on again where we could get a phone number and people can call in and share and vent. There's so many ways to, in essence, take care of business before we're officially in a city council meeting and get everybody's feedback and figure out where we are and where we need to negotiate and how we can compromise. Thank you.
Nathan?
So, as, like Carl was saying, make committees and make one voice come into the meeting, but it can go more than just the meetings. And as mayor, you was told that you could also hold extra city council meetings. To my knowledge, we only have one a month, and sometimes I don't feel that that's enough. And if there's enough agendas of grave importance that, come to, my desk, which apparently we don't have, and, prioritize and even call an extra meeting. And there's a lot of people out there that don't know when or, where these meetings are, and they want to be involved, and just maybe even putting it on the radio or in the paper better, and with the social media, that, cover all bases so more people can show up at the meetings and get their voices heard. And I also agree, 2 minutes is, you could say a lot in 2 minutes, but it may not always be enough, depending on how important it is, and everyone's opinion should be heard. Even the smallest of ideas could turn into something great. And, you
30
just
seconds.
need someone to help, nurture it and get the ball rolling. And if it is agreed upon that it is a very good idea, we get it moving, get it done.
All right. Beth?
So I think I misunderstood his question. I thought his question was, how could a citizen get an agenda item on the city council agenda?
Okay.
Was that the question? Thank you. That is a very short answer. Email me, talk to me, and state your case. Tell me why it's important to you. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? Sorry, the man in the blue flannel.
Yeah, although I'm not a Newport resident, I realize the vast importance of Newport for the whole NEK. And if you followed my platform at all in my 3 runs for the Senate, a big portion of that was transportation. Because I don't think there's a company in this world that's going to move to an area like we have here unless you can tell them they're going to be able to get out of it, or they're going to be able to get their goods and services to it. We've got a railroad here that doesn't do anything. We have a bus capability that we don't have access to. What are the things that you would really as far as transportation goes to entice businesses in showing them that we have a facility for them to get their goods and services and their employees back.
So you're asking what they would do as mayor to help build the transportation system?
Yes.
Okay. Rod?
Excellent. Building on what I, said earlier, there are different ways that we can work with the current systems that are in place, namely RCT, and get them to expand, maybe some of their routes. And depending on how the funding is and getting into all the minutia that's associated with that, if there's, I believe if there's patrons, they'll increase their ridership. And as long as they're making money, we can expand the system like that. I also believe that it's important as well that we get, that we get to the forefront as much as we can, with, electric energy as well. So adding more e-stations and things like that could be beneficial for this town as well. And some things that I remember from when I first moved into, when I first moved to Vermont, and the development that was going on along the waterfront and ways that it was being utilized, that will drive a lot of the transportation back and forth to Newport. People will come to town for the state buildings. They come to town for different services that they need. And as well as we have opportunities with, with the waterways to utilize more of that more effectively. So having a very elaborate program, I don't see Uber coming anytime soon. It just doesn't really dictate that. But there are definitely steps to get to that process where we can make it effective, where that, people can offer ride shares or things like that. So there's numerous different ways, and once we facilitate the need, the transportation
You have 30 seconds?
will show up.
Nathan?
All right. Well, as I've noticed in my years up in the Northeast Kingdom, there isn't much for transportation, and what we have, runs so unfrequently. It's hard to say. Sorry. When I lived in North Attleboro in Massachusetts, there was a system of like 6 buses running anywhere from every half an hour to every hour. So I think if we got a more consistent bus route, because I believe we only have 2 buses with the RCT. I've seen a red one and a white one. And, and I've also noticed that our community, especially on this side of the city, don't have transportation of their own. I see a lot of people walking, bike riding, which is great. It's good to be healthy, and if that's why they're doing it. But there's a lot of people that, it's hard to get, a carriage full of groceries home if you have no transportation. And, yes, the RCT does stop at, some of, I believe all of the major shopping, areas.
30 seconds?
But, it's more than just that. What if we bring you to, the high school, or, some, larger routes can help, but it comes to the need for and funding to have more transportation, and not only that, the schools have a major transportation issue. My school over here, there's 3 bus drivers, but one is a volunteer firefighter, and he's constantly missing his route, unfortunately. But
Please finish your thought.
yeah,
Okay.
so.
Oh, sorry, it does not want to turn off. Beth?
So I understood the question differently. I understood the question, how would we move goods and services or commerce? To move product, or was it people?
How would we show businesses that we're serious about them coming here if we don't have transportation?
Okay. Well, we can have transportation. For businesses who need to ship, we already know that 90 trucks every day, 5 days a week, come to the dump. So we know that it is possible to have transportation up here. There are a couple pilot projects right now which are really interesting in central and southern Vermont. One, they're state and federally funded, and they are pilot projects, but they're, I guess you could explain them as a van Uber, you call them, and they come pick you up. They're meeting with really positive results. And this is what we were talking about before. The answers aren't always, in fact, very seldom are the answers going to be right here in Newport. The answers are going to be out there. We're going to look to other people who are doing things and innovating and see what's working for them and see how we can make it work for us. There is another program in central Vermont that they are piloting, and that is using school, and I know this is going to really be controversial, but they're using school buses that are already on established routes to help move other people in and around town.
30 seconds.
That is just so innovative to me. We've got the school bus system, and we've got a very, very huge service area that we need to move people around. We have school buses going to Island Pond, coming into Jay, coming into Newport every day. They're trying it in central Vermont. Maybe we can keep an eye on them and see what they're doing to see if maybe we could use it up here. Thank you.
All right. Carl?
Would you be more, I want to hear your question again, because I want to dial right in on exactly what you're looking for.
If we're gonna get a business to come into Newport, they're gonna ask what kind of transportation you have to facilitate us.
Well, you say transportation, are we talking, again, goods and services? Are we talking workforce?
Well, I brought it into workforce, goods and services, you know, the whole gamut that a business needs as far as transportation involved.
Well, our infrastructure here, we have a lot of access points into the city. I don't know where on Main Street you think we're gonna have a lot of big truck industry. I don't know if that's what you're looking for, the answer you're looking for.
Well, kind of, Carl, so to like kind of stay on top of where everybody else kind of answered too, is how could you bring transportation in? We need transportation for businesses, for employees, for goods and services. So how could we address the transportation issue here, which makes it more attractive to people moving and to business?
Well, certainly, again, as RCT was mentioned, they do have routes and rides that they certainly can only go on certain timeframes. Most people with jobs normally have cars, so again, I want to say that our car infrastructure, we do have routes in and out of the city. We all got here, it was snowing, so we got in and out. I mean, we're hopefully get out. I don't really know how to really exactly answer that question. I'm not seeing the real answer. I know we have a good way in and out of here. So I know if they need to bring goods or stuff in, there is a railroad. If it's larger stuff, larger bulk, they can use that. But that's it, that's all I have.
All right, next question. We have time for a couple more. So Mike in the way back.
I'd just like, first of all, as a lifelong resident, born and raised, been a voter here all my life, I want to thank 4 of you for showing up. I've never seen 4 candidates for mayor. That's pretty awesome. It's not so much a question as it's an appeal to you. We're not in competition with Newport Town. We're not in competition with Derby. We all live in the same area. All my life, we have been in competition with these other places, and that's just plain. And I would hope that regardless of which of you becomes the next mayor of the city of Newport, that you include them in our plans. 80% of our shoreline on Lake Memphremagog does not belong to the city of Newport. Yet we take on 90% of the burden. You can comment on that whatever you like, it's not a question.
It's an opinion.
I'd like to thank you for that opinion, especially as a lifelong resident. That means a lot to me, not being a lifelong resident. You make some really valid points, and I want you to know that I not only listened to you, but I heard you when you said that, so thank you.
Carl, would you like to comment?
Again, I want to validate and empathize to know that we hear. I really feel that the lake really is one of our greatest selling points. And if that comes up as a negative point where I hear a lot of things going on, that really is a distractor from the city. So I really like to make sure we stay on top of that and make sure that we get our fair share, but we also don't bear that whole entire burden as well, so.
Rod?
I definitely wholeheartedly agree with your sentiment, and that's definitely one of the things that I would work to do as, you know, to make sure that Newport Town and Derby, as well as the surrounding areas, you know, are all, you know, a part of the discussion and at least have an opportunity, you know, to share, you know, because I definitely, one of the first reasons I came up here was for Gardner Park, you know, and to play softball, you know, and we attract people from all over northern Vermont and the entire state for some of our tournaments and things like that. But you've got the lake, you've got Prouty Beach, you have numerous ways that we can, you know, show off our recreation. I definitely want to be a part of continuing, you know, music on Wednesdays, and as well as winter at the Gateway. Those types of opportunities bring in more dollars, and you can make it a four-season destination. And while you're doing that, at making it a four-season destination, we can figure out ways to, you know, capitalize on that, not just at the convenience stores, but in the specialty shops and in the restaurants, and we can get people to spend, you know, more time in the downtown area, and that'll be definitely one of the ways that they feel, you know, more part of what's going on.
And Nathan?
So Newport is not alone, and, you know, we are also, not only we are just a big part of Newport, but, you know, we're part of North Orleans County, we're part of Vermont, we're part of the United States, we're part of this great planet that we are blessed to live on. And if we can't get along with our neighbors, and it's only going to hurt each other. We're not going to make anything positive to come out of as negative as not being able to shake hands and work with projects. So if Newport Town needs help building, you know, another playground or something, it would be in our best interest to go and help, you know, send some volunteers or even maybe some funds if need be. We're not here alone. Yes, we're strong, but if Newport as a city can fail, it can snowball with our surrounding towns, and we do need to, you know, work with also with Canada as well. Maybe some kind of ferry system to go back and forth to be able to cross the border that way. I mean, the possibilities are endless, and if we just reach out to the other communities, we will get a lot of help inward to help us rebuild, because it doesn't just affect us in Newport, it affects all our surrounding areas.
Any more questions? This woman in the back with glasses. Yes, and the earrings, yes.
Thank you, Mike, for saying that, as a Derby girl. My whole life living here in this community. I wanted to thank you for asking that question and clarifying the hierarchy within the council. Being individuals, having our own opinions and our own strengths and weaknesses, how would each of you handle or deal with discontent within the council? So say you disagree with, is your stance more the 12th juror, or are you going to cave with the other? Just
So your question is, how would each individual
Deal with conflict within?
deal with conflict within the council?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna start with Nathan.
Well, I have heard some very aggressive stories about what goes on at the council's meetings, to the point of people being removed by force, unfortunately, or even getting aggressive with the security there. You know, we should not have to come in with aggressiveness there's no need for that, because the more aggressive you are, the less you're going to be heard. You could have the greatest point or idea on the planet. If you're trying to jam that idea down people's throats and change everybody's mind and say my way or the highway, it's not going to work. You know, and there's going to be people going to disagree with you, and there's going to be people on your side. You know, we can't please everybody, and unfortunately, it takes only one bad egg to ruin your egg salad. We come in, make your point, stay and be as calm and collected, and we will sit and listen, and the community around you also will sit and listen to try and help with it. You just
30
can't
seconds.
be aggressive. It needs.
Beth.
Thank you. I have been in a couple of city council meetings, perhaps more where tensions have run high. It's normal. Again, we're adults. Everybody has their own tipping point. Everyone has their own threshold. Some people become agitated sooner than others. Some people don't become agitated at all. It's not, I don't see it as us and them, or I see it as us. It comes back to we're adults, everybody. We are adults. If there is a problem, what is the best way forward when you have a problem? I mean, back in the day when we were in junior high, we may be angry and we might shun someone, but we're adults. This is where we sit down at the table, and of course it's the metaphorical table, you know, it's the real table or the metaphor. I don't care, whatever you want. But we come together and we act like adults. That, you know, I can't expand on it much more than that. We come together and we act like adults. Yeah. Thank you.
Carl.
It's a forum that requires us to use professionalism because we are representing the people. And most times, people that are watching or filming. We are human. We don't always get along. It's not always about rainbows and butterflies. Sometimes it's about compromise. That's a lyric in a song, actually, that moves us along. We shouldn't really have a council that really disagrees on a whole bunch. We should really be on the same sheet of music, looking for the best interest of Newport. And if there is usually some sort of discord, hopefully we're adult enough to remove that agenda, that personal agenda that may be driving it. Because again, everything should come down to Newport and for the best interest of Newport. So sometimes we just got to suck it up, Buttercup, and be an adult. Sometimes we got to be tough and pull up our britches and be firm on things. But we do have to use empathy and validation. So thank you.
All right, Rod.
Well, I wish I could just say, well, can't we just go with the golden rule and do unto others as we would have them do unto you? No, we can't do that, so we have to sometimes move up to the platinum rule, which is do unto others as they've asked you to do unto them, or treat them the way they've asked to be treated. I've had a lot of experience in a lot of different circles. Been the business owner where I was in charge of the employee, been the school teacher where I was in charge of, pulling in the student and trying to maintain a good, healthy relationship. there is a happy balance all, throughout the whole process. The most important thing in either of those scenarios was that they respected me. And once I had their respect, whether they were an adult or a child, we could figure out a way to work together. And I respected them, they respect me, we work together, we have a mutual understanding, we have agreed upon norms, and then we work together to maintain community. And yes, in a perfect negotiation, no one walks away 100% happy. Then it wasn't a negotiation. So there's so many other ways to look at this, and if they're, but if you assume best intentions and you can meet people where they are, and at the same time, you don't have to be disrespected, and you don't have to put up with being, with watching any other harm happen. So it's a delicate balance. We all have a vested interest, and we would hope that everyone is looking out for the
30
best
seconds.
of the, of the best for the entire council and to be successful. So find that mutual ground, and then we can go from there.
Questions? Yes, man in the mask.
Yeah, man.
Who is that masked man?
As our world becomes ever more dangerous, do you think it's appropriate that the fire chief and the police chief get paid as much as the recreation director?
Okay, so your question is, should the fire chief and the police chief get paid as much, or
As much as
the rec
recreation.
director? Okay. So this will start with Beth.
On the face of it, my answer is no, but I don't know. I don't know what the details are of their job descriptions, but my initial knee-jerk reaction would say, no. I'm going to go out on a limb and I'm going to say, no.
They should be paid more.
They should not all be paid the same, is what I'm saying. Was that your question?
Well, fire chief, 24/7, 365 job, also wears the hat of the health officer and the zoning administrator and any other vacancy in town is the step.
Emergency coordinator.
Emergency
Sorry, I
coordinator.
misunderstood your
Yeah.
question.
So you're asking, so just so I can kind of frame it in a way that they all can answer the same question. So you're asking, should the fire chief and police chief, who are full-time employees, make as much as the, say, the recreation director, who's also a full-time employee, or should there, because of their duties, should they be looked at differently, maybe make more?
Yeah, when you put it, 24/7 on call, wearing many hats, yes, they should be compensated for that, absolutely.
Right, Carl?
Well, to understand that better, what is the comparison? Are you saying the city,
The fire chief gets paid 4 to 6,000. The
okay,
recreation director gets paid 61,000. And I like them both. I mean, I think they're both doing a great job. But it just seems in the contentious, as contentious as our world is getting, that the police chief and the fire chief are deserve to be paid as much as our recreation director.
I did not know, I would believe that they would be paid more. I would say because of the hats they put on. Where the recreation, there's a lot of things going on in recreation, but they do get a little bit of time to go home and sleep and not worry about things. They don't have to worry about where their next shovelful is coming, where police and fire have to plan for the next day, and the other people that they're responsible for, plus the whole community. So I would believe it would be compensatory to, one, their experience, the position, of course, as you mentioned, the many hats that they would wear. So.
All right, Rod?
Well, first of all, I don't usually like to discuss another person's money or funds, in this type of setting. But I would definitely review the budget if it becomes a real, if this is in and of itself a real, matter to be, investigated, then we would look at the budget, and then we would compare, the revenue that the rec department brings in versus the revenue that, the other departments. However, public safety is absolutely important and paramount, and if you don't feel safe in your own city, you're not gonna be willing to spend time or plan a future. So things that we could do in that regard is we could compare, what the police chief makes in a comparable city, in Vermont or a comparable New England city, based on our population size and our, in essence, crime rate, or the amount of fires that we have and the amount of the need. And then if there was a way to level it, or to comparable to other fire chiefs and other police chiefs, not recreation directors, two different jobs. But meanwhile, make sure that everybody understands that, public safety is the city council and the mayor's, priority. I think we could, reach, a very, happy medium. And maybe it's, increased revenue, but maybe we can figure out ways to get more volunteers or more police, or there's numerous ways that we can address an issue like that in equity.
All right, Nathan?
So I believe that with the job of police chief and fire chief, because they're laying their lives on the line, when they do go out and patrol or put out a fire, they're not only just trying to lay their own lives on but they're also protecting families. I mean, the fire chief, they're protecting people's homes. And then we have a community of a lot of homeless people that now, due to fires, and we do have a growth in violence in our city. We've been seeing it the last few years, just in the waterfront plaza. Couple of shootings from outside states come in, tracking somebody down for whatever reason, and shooting at them either to death or just missing. Thank God. But I believe if you're laying your life down on the line and you're protecting someone's life, you should be getting paid more. And it's not, something more significant, because if the numbers that you say are true, that is a very big drop off. So, just like with military, they're also doing the same kind of thing.
30 seconds.
Healthcare professionals, they are also saving lives, and they're not always putting their lives on the line, but people who are looking out for others and doing good for people, I believe, get more. And I believe it's unfair that someone like an athlete or something gets paid $30-40 million when, yes, they're doing good at their job, but,
Okay, time. All right, folks, so it's almost 9 o'clock, so I do want to give the candidates a chance to go ahead and kind of just do their concluding statements. So we'll give you each 3 minutes to conclude. Oh, I'm sorry, I did not see you. I mean, how many more people have questions? 1 second. How many people have questions left? We have one?
I'd like to make a comment.
Okay, so we have one comment, we have a question. Is there anybody else with questions? Okay, so I think we can actually get that in then. Okay, so James?
Sorry, couldn't see us.
Sorry, I can't make this.
I've got a question, kind of a comment, a question in a different vein. We have a lot of staff members here that have been working for the city for a long time, 15, 20, 25, even 30 years. They have extremely vast knowledge and experience in things they've probably seen it all and been through everything. And I was just wondering how each of you were going to value the experience and the knowledge these staff members have.
So you want to know how each of them would value and acknowledge the experience of the staff members that already are there.
The concern of the staff people, traditional mayors, are kind of concerned with staff.
Yeah, I'll take that up.
Yes, Carl, you'd be next in line.
You bring up a very good point. I kind of alluded to that earlier about the value of the people who are already in place, who already have the experience and the knowledge. A lot of people believe it. a lot of the jobs require 2 years and then to get out of office. A lot of times, it takes more than 2 years to really establish a real good format to help the city proceed on into the future. And that takes a lot of experience. And like you said, a lot of the city workers and staff that have that years of knowledge and experience, it's going to be a wealth for someone new coming in to quickly advance the knowledge on Newport, its city doings, its future, and its potential. And the knowledge of where we came from is that much more important too, as to where we're going. So,
You good? Rod?
As I shared earlier as well, and as I'm pretty sure most of everybody in this room can tell, I'm a very extroverted and outgoing person, and I'm used to being the odd person in the room and the person that doesn't necessarily fit in. So I've worked very hard over the years of making friends and being inviting, and that's kind of how I wanted to approach the entire program and everyone in the staff. It's like taking the time, getting to know them, asking them the questions that they ask themselves every day when they put in their 40 hours a week and, in the buildings, where can we improve? What do you think some of the shortfalls are? And if you could do one thing, what would you do? And then actually listening and being engaged and then collecting that data and information and bringing it back to the city council and making sure that it doesn't get swept away and then literally honoring their time and their commitment, whether it's 10, 15, 20, 30 years. I mean, that is where you can find, the future is learning from the past and the stories and, the stops and starts that there might have been and helping those people and working with them to, bridge a better future. So that's kind of where I'm going to go about it. And I definitely don't think anybody has a question about how I would go about it, because I would just make the time to sit there to know every single person individually and connect with them on whatever level. And even at that time, guess what? It's not about me at that time. It's about them, because, if they're happy to come to work, then the city runs better. And then that shows in so many other areas.
All right, Nathan?
So I've had plenty of jobs, and I've been there seeing where people with some of the most experience in years have actually gotten swept under the rug, and they need to be valued, because without their experience they wouldn't be able to train the newcomers, because everybody's time is limited. So eventually the person with the most experience has to pass on that knowledge, and a lot of times they don't get that opportunity. And I've seen people who are brand new with no experience and very little education have gone and been able to push above, been pushed above the people who've been dedicating their life from, I've been here since the store opened, and how do I not, get the job? And sometimes it's a very, oh, well, I know this person, I've known him since he was in diapers, so that's what, and that's not fair. The person with the most experience and the most knowledge should be valued the most. And I really, I've had that happen to me before. I've been at companies where I've had the most experience and knowledge and background, and I still wasn't chosen.
3 seconds.
So it's good to have those people, and they need to pass on their knowledge when their time comes to leave whatever business they're in, and it needs to be passed on to the right person. And just because the person it's not just experience, it's what you do with your experience.
Finish your statement, please.
Yeah. So I hope I answered your question properly.
And Beth?
That was a great question, actually. Thanks for bringing that up. Over the years, I have turned to many city employees, yourself included, many times, and I always appreciate the way I'm met with kindness and action. So I know the level of employees that we have in this city. There are several in the room right now. I kind of look at it as if I'm walking into my job every day, which is a substitute teacher at Newport City Elementary. Every day I show up, and every day I have absolutely no idea where I'm going to be. I could be a music teacher one day, and I could be a PE teacher the next day. I could be in pre-K, 6th grade, and several classes in one day. And I always say to the kids when I go in, I'm honest with them, I say, hey, I don't know, well, I frame it a little differently, but I let them know. I don't want them to think they're in too much control, but when in fact they really are, because I'm walking into a new classroom every day, and I have no idea how they do their morning meetings or how they do their snacks. So I have to turn to them and I have to ask, and we all have to work together and cooperate. They have no idea how much I'm leaning on them. So full disclosure, if I become mayor, city employees, I will be leaning on you and trusting you to show me the way. Because I'm not gonna lie, it's gonna be scary, and I'm gonna need kindness. Thank you.
And, sir, yes, in the back.
I hadn't planned on speaking this meeting, and I am the fire chief in town, and I had absolutely no idea that the gentleman in the front row was going to make those comments. I just want to clear the air on how things are the way they are, okay? My compensation package is a victim of today's employment wherefore, shall we say. People are moving around the country from job to job and getting increased salaries because of their value, because employees are hard to come by today. The rec director, who is phenomenal, does a great job, got his salary because that's what it took to get his skill set into the city and to move his family from Connecticut, okay? It just so happened that it leapfrogged over mine. Is what it is. We have budgets. We try very hard to keep our budgets at a manageable level. Tom and myself, our city residents, we pay taxes. We take our budgets very, very seriously. I think if you've read the newly printed city plan, our proposed budget for this year of 2.8 or 9% is phenomenal after 2 years of 9% inflation. I think Morrisville just came out with theirs, and they're going to be 25% increase this year. So I don't want anybody in this room thinking that it was that the difference between my salary at this point in time and the rec director is an intentional thing. It just happens to be circumstances that created it. And in an effort to keep our budgets as low as possible, that's where we are. So I don't want anybody thinking that there's anything meant by that.
Thank you for that clarification, Chief.
All right, well, thank you, folks. Thank all of you for coming. Thank all of you folks for being here and running. Without you, we really wouldn't have city government. So thank you all for being here in the snowy evening.
No closing comments?
Oh, geez, guys. Thank you.
That's fine. You don't have to. I can talk some more.
I'm sorry, we told them we'd close up at 9 o'clock, so that's on me. I am sorry, guys.
No, it's fine. I can put what I'm there.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. I did get a little away from me. I had to switch
I wanted
phones.
to do my closing comments. Oh, well.
Sorry. And if everybody hadn't just immediately got up and run, I probably would have just tried to squeeze them in, but they all kind of. I think everybody's worried about digging their cars out at the moment.
I know.